So today's virtue is on generosity, and it comes from Our text comes from 2 Corinthians, chapter 9, starting at verse 6. And it says, "The point is this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that having all sufficiency in all things at all times, you may abound in every good work. As it is written, He has distributed freely, He has given to the poor, His righteousness endures forever. He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing, and will increase the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way to be generous in every way, which through us will produce thanksgiving to God. For the ministry of this service is not only supplying the needs of the saints, but also overflowing in many thanksgivings to God." So there's a lot there. The first part is actually, I think it's a fairly just logical thing. It's kind of the parable metaphor of whoever sows much reaps much, and whoever sows little reaps little. I mean, this makes sense. If you plant seeds everywhere, it's more likely that you're going to then have plants everywhere. And if you only plant 3 seeds, at best you're going to get 3 plants. And I think that's kind of a practical take on generosity. I mean, and this isn't the way we should look at it. But from a practical standpoint, right, if you help a bunch of people out, the chances that you're going to, when you need it, someone's going to be able to help you out increase. Like, that's statistics. But we're called to a joyful generosity. And I touched on this a little bit in my sermon a couple weeks ago, if you were able to be there for that. But when we give generously, it's a reflection of trust that God is going to take care of us. That doing what He has called us to do in supporting His mission in the world, in helping His people, whether that be through your local church or through a charity or through volunteer efforts that you do, like whatever that looks like, you're trusting that doing what God has, the work that God puts before you, isn't going to ruin you. It's trusting that, I'm giving 10% of my income to the church, and it's trusting that God's going to make sure that I don't end up in the poorhouse because of that. So, and that's kind of what it draws here, because Paul is redirecting their attention to God, who has distributed freely. He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing. And he's redirecting all this attention to God, which you may notice has been a theme with these virtues, and it's going to continue to be a theme, because the reason, the motivation, and a lot of the other aspects of all of these virtues come from our relationship with God. So with contentment, it was our focus on God makes everything else matter so much less. With generosity here, it's a trust in God. So our focus, if we redirect our focus, and a lot of it comes down to a discussion of idolatry, which we're not getting into in the 17 seconds I have left, but is God above all else, or is He second to money, or to status, or to pride? And that's a question I can't answer for you. So, Brothers and sisters, go in peace. Serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.